Hi, Lucy.
We're still together.
We're
My throat's gone.
still together.
We're still together.
We are.
So today, we've been in there hours now.
Yeah.
We feel like we should have a bottle of wine with us.
I think it would be a bit dangerous.
It would be fun though.
One with wine. We could call it one with wine.
Maybe we should do one at some point with the one with wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next time we're together, maybe.
Yeah, in Australia.
Yeah.
With the
It's
event.
a bit early to be doing
It's
wine.
only 11:28 with us, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's 12 o'clock somewhere. I suppose.
It's true. All right. So today.
Yeah.
We're entering Q1 now. You're all coming out of Q4. We're going into Q1 for a lot of these US-based businesses.
Yeah.
And we're here again. You have been assigned probably your new books of business. So we are titling this episode, The Tortoise and the Hare, the How-To. When we were chatting about this, because I think there's two types of people.
Yeah.
Some of you go out the gates and you're all over your accounts and there's some really good account planning. And then some of you just are a little bit slower to get everything where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have a chat about how to bring it all together with some really good techniques and tips and how to manage your book for the next 12 months and make your money and hit your number.
I like it.
So, well, you've been in this game as long as I have. Tell me some of the biggest challenges you've seen with territory planning and account-based marketing when they go like this.
Yeah, so I think, again, we picked this because, yes, if you work for a US-based company, you'd have finished out Q4 and you'll be moving into Q1.
Yeah.
But where you've been sat with your head down, there are parts of the business that for the past
6 months,
6 months, I mean, it starts at 6 months, that have been planning, reviewing data, looking at territories, headcount planning.
Hang on a minute. There's actual planning that goes into carving an account. What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people think it just doesn't happen. But I suppose, there's a huge amount of forward thinking, forward planning that takes part predominantly with RevOps, finance, etc., to kind of really look at what the projections are for the next financial year, and then obviously doing what we call top-down, bottom-up review of that data to kind of meet in the middle to go, okay, well, in order to achieve these revenue targets based on our historic performance to date, how are we going to carve up these books of businesses, these territories, and assign these targets to the right people? So that happens. But you're too busy closing and selling and doing what you need to do.
Holding those 10 accounts that you get a chance to hold.
Correct. And then, you might have had the opportunity to hold some accounts where you've managed to put your thumb on it. And go, no, I'm still working this, or I'm going to carry this one over because you're already through a sales cycle with them. So, so it could be a range of different scenarios, right? Some businesses do not really change books of business. So they're few and far between, but there are a lot of businesses that won't change the books of business. They might redistribute some lower tiered type accounts, but things might stay the same. And for you people, I think that's a lot easier.
Yeah.
However, there are a lot of businesses out there which will throw all of the accounts up in the air, jumble them up, and then reallocate them. Yeah. And the reason for that is they might have to, because the research has kind of shown, right, we're taking a different approach. We're going account-based. Yeah. We're going industry vertical. So there could be some fundamental changes where the business has chosen to do that. But then there are some businesses that just truly believe that breathing new life into accounts and fresh accounts actually derives better outcomes.
Yes, agreed.
So that is another reason. So, so we want to really kind of talk about that. So what are the challenges? What are the challenges?
God, there's so many. I think once you've got over, let's just get past that first 24 hours of bitching and whinging. Yeah. Because that always happens. I've just lost this account. God. Get over that. Give yourself 24 hours to mourn the 3 accounts you thought you were going to close and you didn't. And then now you need to set yourself up a process. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest challenges that we've seen is actually in every business I've ever worked in, there has been little to no process around how to actually manage your book of business. It's just like, here you go. And if I am process driven. If you're process driven like me, you're quite lucky because you can go in and really organize everything and get your head around that. Mm-hmm. But if you're not, you're looking at a spreadsheet probably, or some form of CRM document that's got 600, 200, 800 accounts in, and it's just like over to you.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of the biggest challenges is that we see is that. Alongside that, it's things like, how do I work with my BDR? I've probably been assigned a new BDR potentially throughout this process as well. So it's that new collaboration, and you've still got those lone wolf AEs who will not work with their BDR. So the BDR sitting there twiddling their thumbs for the full month that they've just got a new account because they're not allowed to touch anything. So I think they're the two ones for me that really stand out over and over again.
Yeah.
What else have you seen?
Yeah. Well, I think there's that. I think, well, you kind of alluded to it. And again, I come at this with a little bit of an ops perspective. I think there's a lot of quick to jump to conclusions that this is a terrible book of business or this, that, and the other, right? And again, it comes back to, you talked about process, right? There's some companies that do have a process, right? There are some well-established companies that will provide, they actually will even put timestamps and say, we expect you to have a quota attainment plan done and built by this point. We expect you to have spent some time in the data, enriching some of the data of your accounts, all that kind of stuff. But then, a lot of the time you are kind of left to your own devices.
Yeah.
So but the challenge sometimes is just looking at the number of accounts and then going, this is a terrible patch. This is a terrible book of business. Like that, please don't do that because it really damages your brand.
Yeah, it does.
Well. Yeah. And do you know what? Like you might have got a rough end of a stick.
Yeah.
That absolutely can happen. But you have to remember that there has been a huge amount of data and analysis that has happened to get to this point.
Yeah.
So you just throwing your hands up in the air and going,
whinging,
this is a shit book. That's not going to help you, and it's not going to help anybody else.
Nah.
So I think there is a way of getting through that haze and landing in a place that will make you feel either more empowered and actually it's not as bad as I thought it was, or B, actually be able to put a case together to say, hey, I've done this research. I'd love to sit down with you and actually look at where we can, because you can be within your rights to ask for more accounts. You can be within your rights to do that. And by the way, there is a stash of accounts there waiting to be allocated. So I think just the challenge of not jumping to conclusions too quickly and also don't whinge. Like it is not good for your brand.
No. And also we say, you've been given X amount of accounts. We already know that only 20% of them are going to generate you money anyway.
Correct.
Just go find that 20%. Correct. Like it will be there somewhere.
Correct.
You just got to spend the time doing that.
Correct. So, and also there will be some data enrichment and data enhancement that has been done.
Yeah.
There will be some that's been done, but that will be broad stroke. So it will be using, a big data dump to try and ensure that the data is correct. And that would be really basic things like industry, headcount, location of headquarters, all that kind of stuff. There might be some done contacts, but I can pretty much guarantee not a lot. Like I really can guarantee not a lot. And so again, what is your job in this part of the process?
Yeah.
Your job is to go and enrich that data.
It. And that's all you hear is, that's not my job. It is your job. It really is your job to go in there and fix some of this stuff up to make sure that they're workable. And one of the things that I used to do was, it doesn't really matter what CRM you're using, you need to use it. That's the first thing. Like, please get out of your spreadsheets. Like, I've seen so many people in every organization just go, well, the CRM's rubbish, so I'll basically just create my own. And it's the most infuriating thing. And I think the reason I find it infuriating is because when I was an AE, when I was at HubSpot, it was good. Like, I used HubSpot. You didn't go, right, I'm going to go and use another spreadsheet. Like, you used their CRM, but it was so, it was malleable. So I just created my own views, and you create everything you want within that view. So don't just go with the view that you've just been given these 800 accounts or whatever it may be. Go in there and create the things that you want to see. So the propensity to buy, the last activity date, the last viewed web page, anything like that. Obviously the company count, anything that you really want to see within that view. And then little things to save yourself time. Put them in a view that you can actually just open up. So I used to have first name, company, first name, surname, mobile number. Yeah. And then propensity to buy. And I just have it last activity day or last thing they did, and just do that top to bottom and open 10 contacts up at a time. Yeah. Or 10 accounts up at a time. Yeah. And I'd work on them 10. and just be really organized in how you're going about that, and tier them. That would be my other thing. Tier them and bring your BDR, SDR, whoever it is, into that process with you, because it's their job to work with you in this, not against you. So you need to be able to work the accounts. And if they're working tier 3, tier 4, while you're working tier 1, tier 2, at least you know that you're both using that central source of truth, you're updating everything as you go. But having that team spirit within that, I think, is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not work in spreadsheets, because it doesn't help anybody.
Literally no one.
It does not help anybody, because your data then becomes, number one, like fixed data.
It's invalid, basically.
Yeah, and it's also not going to be shared with anybody else. And you're going to start applying your own rules to the data. So don't do that. No. Please do not do that. And if you are doing that, I would say you need to do some training on your current CRM. And if you're finding that it's not, what is it that you're trying to do that you think it can't do? Ask yourself that question. What is it that I think it can't do, as to why am I pulling this data into an Excel spreadsheet? So we talked a little bit about enriching of the data. So you can enrich standard information, right? And this is where the qualitative and the quantitative kind of comes in, right? The quantitative stuff you can do, you will have the tools to be able to enrich that data. You will be able to go and find key contacts that fit the buyer personas that you want. You can do all that, right? And as you say, I would say spend a good week. Does depend on obviously the size of your book of business, but I think if you can dedicate that first week purely to data enrichment and research, that's all you should be doing. And as you said, pick, if you do 20 a day, 10 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon, but you're not just doing the qualitative, you're doing the quantitative. So this is what RevOps, Sales Ops, this is what the ops team can't do, right? Unless somebody has put, as an example, there might be a really bad account in your book because they signed up to a competitor and it's a 5-year contract and they can't get out of it, right? And I can guarantee you're going to complain because the previous AE hasn't put any notes in or documented that. But you might come across that information as you're reading through it and then lock that in and go, well, that account I'm locked out of that account for 5 years or for 4 years because I can start reapproaching it 12 months before that contract ends. So you're looking for the qualitative data to be able to justify why that isn't a good account for you as well. Other examples that I've seen might be, I don't know, the partner that they're using is a HubSpot shop, is a particular partner of another product, right? So again, it's going to be very, very hard for you to be able to penetrate into that. So, doing that, just research, data, enrichment, all up the front that first week allows you to then tier. Tiering's an interesting one.
Because it's just subjective for time, isn't it, really? That's the problem with it,
Yeah, and I mean, again, as a company, you should be doing a really, really, really good job of clearly defining what the tiers are, why a company would sit within a tier, and then what you do when they're in that tier. Why do we treat it? Why do we treat a tier 1 differently?
Exactly.
How do we treat it differently? And who owns it? Right? And whether it's ABC, 1, 2, 3, A, AAA, whatever you use, that has to be, if that isn't clear, it isn't defined, then you need to be clear and define it for yourself and for the team that you're working with.
Agreed.
As well. So tiering is great and interesting and also not fixed. So remembering that tiering can change and should change as well.
That's a really important one, because I think you think it's not a one and done. You spend the first 2-3 weeks doing it and then that's it. It's not, is it?
No.
But I think a lot of the time, if you really look at the majority, it probably is a one and done thing. And then they might just update the notes as they go, but they're not updating those key fields as they go through the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a really big one.
Absolutely.
When we were talking about this episode, you said, and you have touched on it, you said if there's some bad books of business or there's some bad accounts that you've been handed, you should, once you've got that data, be able to go to someone. How would you go about that?
There's usually a process.
Okay.
There's usually a process. You've usually been told about the process and then you've usually forgotten what this was. So, go and speak to first protocol. It should have been communicated. So, number 1, go back to all of the emails that have been shared with you about the launch of new books of business, right? Because there should be something in there where I don't know. For instance, there could just be data discrepancy. So there are fields that you won't be able to touch or change.
Yeah.
So if there are, for instance, 5 of your accounts that have the wrong head count, and you can prove that that head count is wrong, there will be a process for you to be able to submit and say, hey, these 5 have got the wrong head count, shouldn't be in my book.
Right.
Yeah. So there should be a process for that. That's super simple.
Yeah.
But if there's then rejigging, if there is then like, I actually need to sit down with somebody and go, these 10 are the wrong head count and therefore don't even sit in my territory, let's say. I don't know, let's say that you're a mid-market and then 5 of them are GB accounts and 5 of them are SMB accounts. You've essentially lost 10 accounts. So you need to be able to sit down with somebody and go, okay, I need a replenish of 10 other accounts, right? So there should be a process in which you can do that. There might be data that needs changing. There's a process in which you can do that. And then it's at that point, and then with your qualitative, right? So if you genuinely need to sit down with somebody and go, I found this information out about these accounts and I need these replenishing because, 5 of them are untouchable, 15 of them are untouchable for the next 3 years. I've absolutely no chance. Then you would go and sit down with, your manager can either take it up the chain or you can submit it and sit down with Rev Ops, Sales Ops, whoever.
I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's the main tips and tricks for how to manage your accounts. Yeah,
I think the research piece we've pretty much nailed. What happens next?
You need to execute. My favourite bit. You need to actually go through these accounts now and remember that, as we keep saying, 20% of them you're going to generate revenue. Mm-hmm. So you actually need to get across your accounts pretty quick and get your foot to the ground. Get your BDR working a certain amount of accounts and you're working the other half. But I just think speed to market now is the biggest thing, especially as we've seen the trends where they're trying to make sales cycles shorter. Yeah. But the reality is still internally, sales cycles are longer. Yeah. So you need to have your foot down because even SMBs taking 90 days. Yeah. 30 to 90 days. Like, that's a long time for a small business to make a decision.
Yeah. Q1, you do not have time to mess about.
Well, that's what a lot of people forget is they go, it's Q1, I can relax a bit. When you're working in quarters, I've got a couple of weeks, I've just been assigned my new book of business. If you really don't build your Q1, you are going to have a shit Q2, Q3, Q4 because of the sales cycle length, and they're going to keep pushing out. So
absolutely.
Treat Q1 like you did Q4 and you'll probably win.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the tortoise and the hare part. Yeah. Isn't it?
Exactly.
Right? Like you do have to slow down to speed up.
Yes.
So there is merit.
Do that initial part,
There's great merit.
Yeah.
But again, like how fast you do that research and how fast you can do quite pragmatic research. Yeah. And like you say, bring in the different team members. And again, if you're lucky to have a blended book of business, which is existing and new business accounts, look at your new business first because the urgency is there for generating new logo. Then look at where you've got growth opportunities within accounts. And then you can start to build that plan, as you say, like, here's the plan from a new business prospecting, going out, generate lead generation versus here's the working with the CRM where you found accounts where we think there's gaps, working with, there might be other product specialists that you can kind of pull in to go and really tackle them. Yeah, that speed to execution there will save you for quarters ahead. Yeah. Absolutely save you for quarters ahead.
It's also probably one of those things where you actually just don't need perfection. Like I know so many times when you're curating very personalized sequences, you need that. But when you're just trying to get going, like getting going is more important than doing nothing.
Absolutely.
Like you will win faster. Yeah. I think I had 400 accounts and people would be like, how have you covered so much ground? And I'd be like, well, I opened 10 tabs and I reached out to 10 people and I put in a task against all those 10 people. And then by the time you've done that for 2 to 3 months, you have touched every single account. Yeah. And then you're just going back and multi-threading and double tapping and spending so much time researching. Once you've done that initial part, doesn't actually help you. No. It slows you down. So yeah, you've got to get there quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there about using tasks, right? Like this, again, like there's functionality in the CRM that's there to help you, like not hinder you. Yeah. And I think holding yourself accountable and getting through that task list every single day rather than just setting it up and forgetting about it is not helpful whatsoever.
It was a Rob Hotchin thing. He said he used to use, when we were working together at Go One, there was a rule for the SDRs that they couldn't leave the end of the week with more than 10 tasks outstanding.
Yeah.
So the 2 metrics that he looked at, and he was third line, what would you say? Third line. The thing that you'd look at was essentially contacts added, because that would show that they're actually getting people into the CRM and multi-threading and adding new people, and tasks completed, because then you're actually working that automation that you're creating. Absolutely. And you're moving your way through those accounts. So 2 really simple things for an AE and a BDR to actually look at is, are you adding prospects and are you completing those tasks?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then just, not building from scratch. I think we're very lucky, right? Like there are sequences that have already been built that are performing right now.
Yeah, people have done this. Yeah.
People have done this before. So again, just acting quick, using what's already there.
Yeah.
And then really working your network again. Like I can't stress this enough to people. Stop going in cold if you don't have to.
No, exactly.
Who do you know that knows people in these organizations? Who do you know that could just you could pick the phone up to, get some inside information, get an introduction? I think that's another thing where I think your speed can really help.
Massively. Well, you've got like little things here, tips and tricks. Use TeamLink in LinkedIn Sales Nav.
I love it.
Because it's literally like me ringing you and going, hey, I'm going to get so-and-so to call you. Do you mind taking the call? Like it's a soft intro to the person that you're looking to do. So TeamLink is really good. And LinkedIn Sales Nav is also, if it hasn't already, going to release buyers into intent within their back end. So they used to do the company insights. Now they're going to do buyers insights. So you can really get everything you need and get there fast. So within that view. So that's pretty good as well.
No, it's great. Yeah. It's really, really good. Really good. And again, we've touched on it, but using the team that's around you. Of course you can do this alone.
Go and chat to the AE that had the account the previous year. Why not?
Because, you're going to moan about the fact that there's no notes in there.
Yeah.
We know that's going to, and again, being a good corporate citizen, right? Put your notes in.
Yeah.
Because it does help in these situations. But go back, talk to the AE.
Yeah.
Who do they know? What do they know? What's their perspective? Don't take it as read. Don't take it as 100% read. No. I think you can often take somebody else's perception on, where I think looking at things with a fresh pair of eyes is really, really helpful. But go and have a chat with them. Who didn't they get to speak to that they think's fundamental, all that kind of stuff. That particularly for the 20% where you really can see there's a great fit, there's a good opportunity, there's something that happened 12 months ago, but it just didn't proceed. Like, why? Yeah, that's a really good shout as well.
I love it.
Yeah, good. It's really good. And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Hit that, people.
You're going to win.
You will be
I agree.
halfway there to hitting your number.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be way in front of your peers and colleagues.
Exactly. And if you've got any tips you've heard that's worked for you, let us know.
Yeah. We would love to hear it. Love to hear it.